Welcome to the second phase of the video. So in this video now we are going to start building our project. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is downloading the data sets. All right, so let's just go ahead and delete this. Okay, now let's go ahead and rename this analysis on financial data sets from Kaggle. Okay, so let's just go ahead and rename this. All right. So I have already downloaded this data set, but I'll be leaving a link of where you can actually download these data sets on the video. Okay. So just go in the description of the video. I'll be leaving the link to the data set in case you actually want to practice alongside me. All right. So the next thing we have to do is we have to import the necessary libraries we are going to be working on. As you can see, this is the project. Okay, I've already built this project. Okay, so this is the project we are going to be working on. As you can see, this is an end-to-end project. Okay, on on the analysis of a financial data set. Okay, so what we have to do is the first thing we have to do is we have to import our libraries. Okay, so let's just go ahead and make this a markdown and say importing the necessary libraries. Let's go ahead and run this. Okay, so the most important libraries we'll be using is have to import pandas as PD. Then we have to import numpy as MP. Then we have to import matplotlib. Okay, let's say from matplotlib import plotlib as PLT. Okay, so the next thing we are going to import is we have to import missing null as ms. Okay, and from what is it, import cborn as SNS. Okay, I think these are big mass leave as PLT. So as you can see, we have successfully imported all the necessary libraries we need to use. So the next thing we are going to do is we have to import our data sets. So let's go and say importing data sets. Okay. So I have actually downloaded the data set already. So I will be showing you, I'll be leaving the link on how you can download data sets from Kaggle. Okay, I'll just leave the link. So once you put the link and place it on your browser, you'll be able to download the data sets. All right. So here we need to assign a variable to our data set. Now let's call our data set df1, okay, is equals to td.read underscore is a CSV file. Okay. So what we have to do is once you have downloaded your data sets, the next thing you have to do is go over to the data sets. So what you have to do is you have to copy the type tag of this data set. So all you have to do is to right click, then you copy as parts. Okay. So the next thing you have to do, come over here and paste this. All right. So once you paste this, the next thing you have to do is run this. Unicode L. Is that giving us my own? Let's figure that out. GD dot read underscore CSV. Okay, so we have successfully imported our data sets. Okay, so to view the first five sets of our data sets, what we have to do is we do df dot head, okay, df1 dot head, okay, that's it df1 here, which is the name of our data set. Okay, so once we go ahead and run this, as you can see, sorry, this has to be this. So as you can see, we have successfully seen the first five rows of our data set. Now let's go ahead. Once you have imported your data set, the first thing you need to know is you need to go through your columns and also understand your data sets. Okay, so let's do that. So as we can see, we have the segments here, we have the country, we have the products, we have the discount band, we have the unit sold, okay? We have the manufacturing price, we have the sale price, we have the gross sales, we have the discounts, okay? Then we have the sales, we have the cost of goods sold, we have the profits, we have the dates, we have the months, we have the month name, and we have the year. So these are the various columns we have for in our data set. Okay. So the next thing we have to go ahead to do is called the data investigation. All right. So the data investigation, this is where you get more investigation on your data. All right. You know your data, you try to understand the data types and the rest of them. So let's go ahead and say data investigation. Okay. A data investigation. I'll run this. Okay. So the first thing we have to do here is we have to check the we have to look for the shape of our data. So the shape of the data tells us the number of rows and the number of columns we have. So to do that, we use the method dot shape. Okay, let's say the f1 dot shape. Okay, as you can see, we have 700 rows and 16 columns. Okay, so the next thing we have to look for is let's get more information on our data. Info. So .info gives us more information on our data. It tells us our data type and everything we need to know about the data. As you can see here now, data type is giving us object, object, object. Object means categorical data. So as you can see, the month number is integer and the year is integer. Okay. So as you can see, if you actually look at the information on the data, we will see that when looking at this information, we can actually denote a lot of things that are actually wrong with this data. As you can see that most of the data type are incorrect, okay? And we that's the number one thing we have to actually look at when we go into data wrangling or data preprocessing. So we have to make sure that the data types are appropriate. For example, now when you look at unit sold, is giving us that is a categorical data. But when we move up to unit sold, as you can see that it is an integer, it is a float, okay? It is a float and not a categorical data, okay? So the next thing we have to do is we need to look at the statistical information on our data. So to do that, we use describe. So this gives us information, the statistical information on our data. Okay. So as you can see, we have month number year. Okay, 700, which is 700 columns. This is the mean. Okay. So this is the standard deviation. Okay. So this is the median. Okay. Maximum value and minimum value. So this is just giving us information statistical information on our data sets. So the next thing we have to look for is null values. Okay, so let's check if we have any missing values on our data sets. Okay, so let me just sum it up. So when we go ahead and run this, as you can see that we have no missing values, okay, on our data set. But as we work on this, you're going to see that this is going to change. We're going to have missing values as we work on this. So I'm going to show you everything you need to know, how the missing values came about and the rest of them. Okay, so let's go ahead and explain this all over again. Okay, the first thing we did was we imported the necessary libraries we'll be using, our pandas, numpy, matplotlib, and missing null and seaborn. Okay, so matplotlib, if you don't know what numpy, pandas, and numpy is, I actually have a full video on the basics of numpy and pandas. Okay, matplotlib is used for visualization, plotting our diagrams, our bar charts, and the rest of them. The same thing as Seaborn. Missing null is actually used to show the pattern of missingness. Okay, you're going to actually see what missing null does. Okay, when we continue working on this project. All right. So the next thing we have to do is importing data sets. Okay, the first thing when you're importing your data set, the first thing you need to do is assign a variable to your data set. Okay, and in this case, we assign df1 to our data set. Okay, so to read your data set, we use pd.read. Okay, so it's actually in pandas that you use for reading your data set. So pd.read. This CSV simply means that it is a CSV file. If it's an Excel file, you will write Excel here. If it's a text file, the same thing. So we use underscore CSV because this is a CSV file. So this is how we loaded our data set successfully. So this is df1.head. Okay, so df1.head is simply the variable we assign to our data sets. Okay, so this is simply our data frame. Okay, so .head is a method in Python we use to view the first 5 rows of our data set. So when we did the f1.head, as you can see, we are seeing the first 5 rows of our data set. All right. So the next thing we did is data investigation, getting more information on this data, trying to understand our data, looking at the data type and or the rest of them. So the first thing we did was df.shape. Okay, dot shape is a method in Python that actually tells us the number of columns and the number of rows we have. As you can see here, it shows that we have 700 rows and 16 columns. Okay, so when we go ahead to verify that, as you can see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, 15, 16. So it simply means that we have 16 columns and 700 rows. Okay, the next thing we did was getting more information on our data. .info is a method in Python that helps us to get more information on our data. It tells us the names of the various columns we have. It tells us the data type of the columns we have, and it tells us if we have non-value, that means missing values in our columns. Okay. So as you can see, it gave us the data type, object, and the rest of them. Okay. Like I mentioned, if you look at this with the one thing you need to understand is understanding your data. Okay, like when you go up here, you can see that we actually have units sold. Okay, and when you look at here, you see that unit sold is actually a float, okay? But when you come over here, it shows that unit sold is a categorical data, which is not correct, okay? So these are things we are going to be looking at when we enter into the third phase of those projects, where when we'll be working on data wrangling, pre-processing of data, handling our outliers, missing values, changing our data types, dropping some columns, okay? So this is what we are going to be handling on this third phase of this video. Okay, so the next thing we did dot describe. Okay, dot describe is a method in Python. Okay, I actually have a full video on methods in Python. Okay, so you can actually go to my YouTube channel, so you see a full video on method in Python where I introduce several methods and functions in Python. I explain them and I actually use them in performing analysis. Okay, so dot describe is actually a method in Python. It helps you to understand the statistical framework or the statistical analysis of your data. As you can see, we have a standard deviation, the median, okay, the maximum value, the mean, and the count, number of counts. Okay, so this is what your the describe actually tells us. So ignore is actually a method in Python that is actually used to know the number of missing values or NaN values we have. Okay, so for example, if I always use, why some people prefer to just use, okay, let me just copy this and remove this. So let's go ahead and run this. Okay. So why some people prefer using this is small only. I prefer using the dot sum because the dot sum makes it more explanatory. It just gives us the number of missing values we have in each columns. Okay. So let's just go ahead and run this. So as you can see over here, it's telling us that we don't have any missing values in the columns. Okay. But like I said, as we work on this project, this is going to change. Okay. Because we are going to do a lot of analysis, then we are going to see that we actually have missing values in this data, and we're also going to handle the missing values and the outliers. Okay. So we have come to the end of the stage 2 of this video. Thank you for watching this video. Let's go over to the stage 3.